welcome everyone. Well, good evening or good morning, good afternoon, wherever you're coming and joining us from. We'll start in about a minute or so, so please settle in. Take one last sip of water, stretch one more time, and we'll be with you very soon. All right, we'll wait for about 20 more seconds, and then we'll get going. And actually, in the chat, it'd be helpful to know where people are coming in from. So you can introduce yourself and say hello and where you're joining us from. Hello, Brad, Kev. All right. We'll get started. And I see. Okay, the chat is disabled right now. All right. So what we can do then is I see it in the Q&A. So all right, so we'll make sure to just use the Q&A for questions as opposed to the chat. So thank you for letting me know. All right, so again, welcome. My name is Olivia Soto. I am the Director of Admissions here, and we're very excited that you're joining us today. We have a great program for you. I am going to share my screen with you in a second, and to be able to see over here. So again, we're joined today by my wonderful colleague Chandra Mohammed from the Department of Development and External Relations here at Harvard Divinity School, and we're joined also by some wonderful alumni who have volunteered their time, and they like to share a little bit more about their experience in terms of their time as students here, and now how their trajectory has taken off in different directions. So again, we're gonna talk about HDS Alumni. You've already seen my face, but again, this is me, Olivia Soto, Director of Admissions. I happen to be an alum as well from the MDiv program from the year 2011. And today, I'm just going to share with you a few things about the admissions process and some information that might be helpful to you before turning it over to our guests. That way, it can sort of place this experience for you. It can sort of give you some sort of some touch points to be able to articulate maybe some of the questions you might be asking later on. One big point we're hoping you walk away with today is that we at Harvard Divinity School, we're very fortunate that we are the most religiously pluralistic divinity school in the world. And what that means is we have an incredible opportunity to help people come together in a non-sectarian space and be able to live life together, share, learn from each other. And you'll see that we do this through a plethora of ways. Tons of weekly gatherings, tons of opportunities to deepen someone's spiritual life, but also to learn about other spiritual lives. You'll see that we have a huge range of religious traditions here in the student body. And we have a lot of events, a lot of student-led events, and actually a ton of events hosted by this Office of Student Life and Religion and Public Life, Office of Ministry Studies, to help animate the sort of space that we have here. So I encourage you to spend some time looking through our website, looking through social media, looking through our blog posts, but we're hoping you get a sense of how active this is as a community and how that sort of activity and energy carries on later on as an alum. We also we pride ourselves in the fact that we have scholars and leaders who make a world of difference. And we provide that by having an incredible array of faculty leaders who are experts in a huge array of topics, not just religious traditions, but also different approaches, different methodologies, different philosophical standpoints, anthropology, a historical approach, an opportunity for students to learn how to analyze the same topic from, again, a huge selection of techniques as well. You'll see that we have strength in the 5 major religious traditions, but we have over 200 courses that are designed to appeal to you to a huge breadth and depth of knowledge. Tons of opportunities to also, whether as an MDiv student, which is where it's required, but also as an MTS student, an opportunity for you to delve into the field ed world and make meaning of all the things you learn in these sort of experiences. We're also very fortunate in the sense that we have our students have access to not only the 8 Harvard graduate programs that they can cross-register with, but also the 10 schools within the Boston Theological Interreligious Consortium. So it's pretty safe to say that no 2 students at Harvard Divinity School have the same curriculum, the same transcript, because you really are given opportunity to design in a very personalized way what sort of experience you want to obtain here. Apart from all that, we have a lot of co-curricular opportunities for you to also deepen your academic life through a lot of programs and centers as well. Again, so we're talking about the sort of the experience here. Now let's narrow it down briefly to the 4 degree programs, the different pathways that you can follow afterward as well. So again, this is sort of the Cliff Notes version of these programs, but the major one, the one in which we have the most current students, is the Master of Theological Studies. You'll see it's a 2-year program, 19 areas of focus, and I'll hone in on this later on, but there's institutional grant aid available. The Master of Divinity is a 3-year program. It's our second largest program. And this is where we're training people to learn about ministry writ large in a huge with a huge selection of opportunities to think of what ministry and leadership and service looks like. And again, a key point here is that institutional grant aid is available. The other 2 programs do not have institutional grant aid, but there is federal funding available through our school as well. And the Master of Theology is the THM. This is the 1-year program for those who already have a Master of Divinity. They've been out in the field and they realize, I want to retool and come back and think strategically about what I want for my second master's program, and to go back out in the field and put that to good use. In a similar vein, the Master of Religion and Public Life is also a 1-year program, and this is specifically designed for people who are very experienced in, again, lots of different backgrounds, whether it's journalism, whether it's law, education, the arts, and they realize that they want to go into the sort of space here that we have here at Harvard Divinity School and think about how religion can be a force for good, to bring about more justice, to bring about more peace. And they're able to take these tools and bring them back into their context, again, in a huge arena of professional endeavors, and then be able to think about religion in a public setting. Again, this is a very quick version where we have a lot of information. In fact, other info sessions about these programs particularly, so I encourage you to look at those later on. Again, I've talked about institutional grant aid, so let me give you a very quick overview of how this works. Harvard Divinity School is unique in the sense that we put the great majority of our funding on the need-based aid bucket. That means that 90% of our students receive institutional scholarships. And you'll see listed here the 3 levels of need-based aid. The lowest amount you can receive if you're in the need-based category is a 75% tuition grant. However, lots of students receive the 100% tuition grant, and a significant number receive also the 100% tuition grant and a 12 living stipend, living expense stipend. This is for people who are at the neediest level. We also have some merit aid, but that is of a limited amount. Again, because we think it's a better investment to put in our need-based aid category most of our funding. And this is merit aid. This is for people who really stand out, but I can tell you it's very difficult sometimes to stand out in these admissions committee deliberations, because We have incredible, talented, excellent applicants. Therefore, it's completely considered by the admissions committee, and you'll see that the merit awards range between 12,000 and 20,000, and they're released at the same time of admissions and their final. Therefore, I would encourage you to apply for financial aid when that becomes available. Usually we have, and again, I'll talk more about this, but usually about a month or so after the application deadline, the financial aid deadline is due. So we encourage you to put in for that, because again, most of our funding is given out through the need-based aid system. Okay, the application process. Again, this is sort of a quick nuts and bolts in terms of what you can expect if you haven't already gone into the application, what you think you might be asked to submit. Here it is. It's a very basic and straightforward application form, a statement of purpose, or the project proposal if you're doing the Master of Religion and Public Life. And we have AMAs, ask me anything about the statement of purpose, the project proposal. We encourage you to reach out to us with any particular questions about those. But writ large, what we hope that you communicate through the statement of purpose or the project proposal is very clear. Why you, why us as an institution, and why now? So those are the three main questions we're hoping you can articulate for yourselves. Then a resume. We want to know, have you spent your time? What have you been doing with your talents, with your access? How have you voted with your choices? So think about what to select in your resume. Again, it doesn't have to be a CV or curriculum vitae. We want to make sure that we see very poignant opportunities that have led you to apply to HDS. Unofficial academic transcripts. We want to know, have you done in school? This is a very challenging, academically speaking, space, and we want to make sure that you're up for it. There's a lot of reading, there's a lot of writing, and we just want to make sure that you feel ready for it. Letters of recommendation. We usually require 3. And again, we just want people who are able to highlight wonderful qualities that you would bring to our community, but also how this community would also help you grow. So think about how your recommenders are able to complement what you might already be saying through your resume or your statement of purpose. A writing sample, again, because I mentioned how writing intensive we are, we love to see how your writing is right now. TOEFL or IELTS scores. This is only applicable if you did not complete your undergraduate degree in an English-speaking institution, English-only speaking institution. If your native language is your native language is not English. So we have a lot of information on and how we determine whether you're eligible for TOEFL or IELTS. But again, happy to answer more of those questions in another info session. And then last but not least, an interview. This is an opportunity for us not only to interview you, but also for us to be interviewed by you. We want it to be a two-way street, and we may have a couple questions about your application and your interest in us. And we're hoping that you have some questions for us so that we can verify that we're a good fit for each other. And again, the timeline, very basic. You've had the application open for just about 2 months. It's going to close in about a month and a half on January 4th. Late January, early February is when we send out interview invitations in multiple rounds. And again, this is when the deadline for the financial aid application is due. And then around mid-March, we release decisions. Then we give you about a month until mid-April to decide if you join us or not. And at that point, we really hope you do. Okay, so I'm coming to the end of my time. I've already alluded to the fact that we have a lot of other ways for you to stay connected with us. You can just scan this QR code if that's easy for you. You can always send us a lot of questions, not only to us in the admissions office, but our current students, our graduate assistants, and other student ambassadors are happy to connect with you. Check out our blog, check out our social media. We have a lot of information there that is, we hope, very helpful to you as you discern whether we're the right place for you. And at this point, I am excited to be able to turn over to my colleague and moderator today, Chandra Mohammed, who serves as the Associate Director for Alumni Relations. And we are joined here as well by two wonderful alumni panelists. Chandra, I will stop sharing right now.
Amazing. Thank you so much, O'Davies. Hello, everyone. My name is Chandra Mohammed. In a second here, I'm going to ask my two alumni panelists to also join us by turning on their camera. So anyway, good evening, everyone, as we are about to embark on an enlightening journey together. So please take a moment to share your location in the chat box. Chat box is back on. It's always fun to see where everyone is coming from. And I want to say also a heartfelt thank you to John as well for extending the invitation to us. So great. So let me introduce myself. Hello, Chandra Mohammed, Associate Director for Alumni Relations at Harvard Divinity School. I go by she, her pronouns, and I am thrilled to facilitate and moderate today's panel featuring two of our amazing alumni on Where Are They Now? So as you've likely already experienced, HDS is a truly unique place. Its excellence is derived from our exceptional community of students, faculty, alumni, and staff. So while we bring together people of different perspectives and identities, we really share a common goal of fostering a more just and humane world. Okay, so I think let's kick things off. I would love to have our panelists introduce themselves. So we have one more. Hi, Abhishek, how are you?
Great. Hi, Chandra.
Hi. So we're also going to have Rev Kev. Rev Kev, I'm not sure if you're able to join by camera.
It's not allowing me at the moment, but okay, there we go. Okay. I'm being okay. I think that did it. All right.
Fantastic. Hello. Okay, so as you probably heard, we're just going to start with introductions. So we're going to start with Abhishek, and then we'll move on to you, Rev Kev.
All right.
Great. Hi, everyone. My name is Abhishek. I am currently in an hour outside of Denver on a work trip. So sadly, the Wi-Fi wasn't cooperating on my laptop, so I'm coming to you from my phone, but hopefully that's okay. I am a graduate of the MDiv program. I graduated in 2017. I am originally from Chicago, and right before I came to HDS, I was working so I came as a non-traditional ministry student. I was working in the social impact consulting field. I was helping a lot of organizations think about, how they can be successful in the work that they do. And a lot of the organizations I ended up working with were faith-based organizations. And in the process of helping them, understand what would make their work more impactful, I was always kind of put in a place where I had to wrestle with issues related to religion, and found myself often without a vocabulary to express or engage in those conversations in a way that was that felt authentic to me, because I never had a religious study background. I hadn't had a discipline study in religion experience prior. So the opportunity to study in an environment for a certain period of time about some of those questions about religion that I was encountering seemed like the next best step for me. So that's what brought me to HDS.
Thank you very much. Okay, Rev Kev.
Good evening, everybody. I'm Kevin Cottrell Ross. I am a graduate from the class of 23 in the Master of Religion and Public Life program. I use the he series pronouns, And my friends call me Rev Kev, Revkev. It's a nickname I picked up a while ago. And while I was at the Divinity School, I came up with this fun way to introduce myself that kind of gives you some of the dimensionality of my experiences. I'll share that with you here, and as we dive further into discussion. And by the way, I am also from Chicago, south side of Chicago.
No way.
Yeah, originally from Chicago. I'm a lot of things. I am the passion of Black Lives Matter and the poise of Gandhi's Namaste. I am my grandmama's hot water cornbread and my Jewish mother's unleavened bread. I am Morehouse and Harvard book smart and Chicago South Side street smart. I am a globe-trotting universal human and one of the boys from the hood. I stand on the front lines challenging injustice against the marginalized and underserved, but I am the first in line for reservations at a Michelin star restaurant for a 5-course meal. I am deeply disturbed by the injustice that my people face, and I'm positive that the future does not equal the past. I am Assalamu alaikum, Shanti, and good day, mate. I can roll with royalty and dine with queens. I'm a stranger to no one, and I'm a brother to all. I hate what hurts my people, and I love everybody just the same. I worship no human, but bow to any God everywhere and every God anywhere. I believe we are all born worthy, and there are no throwaway people. I'm a Black optimist who's seen the worst of humanity, but somehow still believes that the best is yet to be. I'm Rev Kev, and I'm glad to be with you all tonight.
Fantastic. Thank you so much, Abhishek and Kevin. I appreciate both of you, not only for being here, but for sharing so much of yourselves already. We haven't even gotten to the questions yet. So why don't we just get started? So we have 3, kind of standard questions that we ask all of our alumni. So the first one is, why did you decide to attend HDS? So let's start with Kevin, with Rev Kev for this one.
Well, I'm a mid-career professional. I've been leading a congregation in Sacramento for the last going on 14 years now, and very deeply engaged in social justice work, but found that from the time that I was ordained about 24 years ago, the world had changed tremendously. And I really needed to step outside of the frame because I was falling prey to some of the fatigue that tends to happen when you are in caring and helping communities and faith communities. And so I got approved for an educational sabbatical to be able to come and really have some fresh thoughts about some of our age-old problems. And I was very moved in a process like this, particularly through the MERPL program orientation, or the Master Religion Public Life orientation, and hearing the faculty speak about the intention of the program, and also some very surprising curricula that was being addressed. And so I felt pulled, and I was particularly drawn by the work of Dr. Melissa Bartholomew with the Diversity, Inclusion, and Belonging, the Office of Diversity, Inclusion, and Belonging at Harvard. I think she wooed me in unintentionally. I was like, wait a minute, I want more of this. And so, but it was an opportunity to refresh myself, step out of the frame, and be with a cohort of individuals who don't think like I think, who don't solve problems the same way I solve problems. And it was a very enriching and strengthening enterprise for me to dive into.
Excellent. Thank you. Abhishek, what brought you?
Yeah, I think very similar ideas that Kev just shared. So one of the things that I shared was, I found myself in my prior work without a vocabulary to engage about my own faith. And, that goes back to just my experience as an immigrant in America, growing up in a post 9/11 country, where as a brown man and with South Asian identity, I was trying to move away and really try to disappear so that I didn't draw a lot of attention to myself. And what that ended up doing is really did give me the exposure to my own faith background, in the same way that the folks that I was encountering in my work really knew about what they believed in and what their faith background was, and were able to articulate and had a vocabulary to express their faith. That process really led me to HDS. And one of the other things, a thorough line of my career has been, so like right before I started HDS, I was working in government for a short period of time. And there, a lot of my work was focused on how do I make sure that people who don't have a voice at the table in our democratic processes have a meaningful way of participating. That required me to really bring people together across lines of difference. You know, as somebody with that background, I really wanted to be in a place to study religion that was a pluralistic environment. HDS was one of the very few places, if not the one, that offered that kind of a context in which I could not only feel you know, authentic to myself, but also be able to build those connections across lines of difference.
Excellent. Yeah, I've heard that before from other alumni that one of their decisions, you know, that really made them want to come to HDS was about amplifying your authentic voice and the voice of others. So thank you. Whatever brought you both here, we are very grateful. So I also want to ask you, so Abhishek, we'll start with you this time. What did you value the most from your HDS experience? And can you share how that might have shaped your career trajectory after graduating?
Yeah, thank you for that. So a couple of things come to mind. I think really the opportunity to meet a lot of diverse people and be in constant contact with diverse perspectives that you don't necessarily agree with, but you know, it is a microcosm of the world as it is out there, where you are always encountering the other. You know, sometimes you agree with them and sometimes you don't, but you have to figure out a way to live with each other. HDS, and this was happening at a theological level, but also at a philosophical level. You know, just I think being part of those class discussions and being part of those informal discussions outside of the classroom, where I got to learn about people's backgrounds and people's perspectives and what really motivates them and inspires them was really helpful and really contributed to my own faith journey as an individual. The other thing that Odavis mentioned earlier was the opportunity to really you know, take courses across the university and engage with you know, kind of broaden the perspectives from the microcosm of the HDS campus to, you know, Harvard University at large, and really go interdisciplinary. And I took full use of that. A lot of my courses were at the intersection of government and religion and business. And so having had that kind of experience and having had the opportunity to build those relationships, and some of those relationships, you know, are still with me. I mean, some of my really close friends are folks that I met during my time at HDS. Some who became mentors, some who became very good friends, including professors who are now good friends. So I really appreciated that opportunity to you know, be uncomfortable, but in an environment that had a lot of scaffolding to you know, put the pieces back together when they were taken apart in the classroom or elsewhere.
Excellent, thank you. And Rev Kev, so what did you value most about your HDS experience?
So very much, but I'm gonna start first of all, student body, student body, student body, student body. The people that I got to meet and engage with and connect to, the stories that they bring, and the manner in which we engage each other from a deep sense of our situatedness, and you'll hear a lot about that when you come around here. Really unpeeling past the appearance of a person and getting into the things that make them who they are. And I think it's so important that we relate in this way because it helps us to challenge our own biases and our own ways in which we operate with assumptions. So that the student body was incredible. The other thing that blew me absolutely away about being here was the Harvard and Legacy of Slavery initiative that was taken up, and the lead that was taken by the Divinity School. I was deeply surprised and moved that during my year, as I arrived, this work was being taken up. And it directly connects to something that's very meaningful to me and to people who I care about, and that the curriculum was also conversant with issues that many of us are tackling today across disciplines. So I was deeply moved by this as a part of my participation here on campus. And I guess my cohort through the Master of Religion and Public Life program, we still connect and we still meet on a regular basis. Once a month we get together. It was a very powerful, transformative experience, and I wouldn't trade it for anything.
Fantastic.
I can go on, but
yeah,
love my
you can add
professor.
in yeah. Go ahead.
There's a lot that, what I will say, this other piece is kind of extracurricular, but Cambridge and Boston, being from the West Coast, and, I currently live, work, and worship in Sacramento, California. And so being on the West Coast, coming to Cambridge and just seeing all of the wonderful things there are to do here. And I'm presently at Harvard right now. It's been very rich, very rich.
Excellent.
It's a bonus.
Okay. I'm just going to sneak a little question in here because we're getting some questions. And so one question was about, and this is before I get to the third question on my list, but was how do you all balance work and school, and how has your I think you both have answered this in a way of how did it change your work beforehand change to your work now? So basically, while you were in school, were you working? Were you still in your careers? And if you did take a break, what did that do for your next steps? Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Kevin, do you want to start?
I'll go second. I need to think about that a little bit.
Okay, I'll take this. So I came, I wasn't technically, I guess, mid-career, but I came after about 6 years of work experience. So for those of you who are not coming directly from undergrad to HDS, I think you would have to do a mental shift. The work in a 9-to-5 job is very different than the work in grad school. It's it's a very immersive experience. That's why you're moving to Cambridge. It's a residential or it's a program, in-person program in Cambridge. So I think that requires a little bit of a mental shift of how you're trying to prioritize things. Harvard is just a resource-rich, resourceful place. And I don't mean from the endowment perspective, I mean in terms of on any given day, there are just so many opportunities that you have access to, from the events to the lectures to, all kinds of things. and you have to prioritize, what you want to go to, because you can't go to everything. You can't take all the courses that are offered in the catalog. You can't have all the conversations. So, you just have to start prioritizing, and that requires a little bit of reflection and centering when you first arrive on campus, or even after you learn about your admission, really taking that summer to identify what your priorities are. How do you set the intention for how are you going to spend the next 1, 2, 3 years at HDS, and what are the various priorities that you have for your time on campus. I will also say it goes by very quickly. I spent 3 years on campus, but it went by very quickly, so I wish I had set those intentions or I had done that reflection in a more intentional way before I started. But it's something that I would offer from my own experience.
Excellent. Thank you. Okay, Rev Kev, have you thought?
Can you ask that question one more time for me?
So I guess the question is more about your career trajectory, but also how did you manage being in a career, then going on to Harvard Divinity School, where it's almost like a full-time job in itself, being on campus. So I guess a lot of students are just wondering if it's possible, to be mid-career or even a few years in and be able to kind of make the transition back to being a student and then going back to their regular.
Well, in my case, I have an incredible staff and a board of trustees, and I raised 100% of my tuition so that there would not be any impact to my family. So I had a lot of help with that. But I will tell you maybe the greatest, so on the career side, because I was taking an educational sabbatical, I was able to really be like 2% involved, and I'm the senior minister and CEO of my organization. So I was, like 2% involved in that, but the team really handled the day-to-day. My wife was a champ in terms of, holding down the household and all of that. So that part was, but the getting on campus and getting back to school and getting into the flow and the rhythm of academies, okay? It is an adjustment. There's going to be a lot of welcoming if you're fortunate to get in. There's going to be congratulations, and then there's going to be that dive off the cliff where you have 1,000 pages to read, right away almost. So prepare yourself for the adjustment. So that was my major adjustment.
Thank you very much. Okay, so I have one last question from me is, what do you wish you knew before you attended HDS? And I'll let you guys decide who's going to go first. So what do you wish you knew before you attended HDS?
What do I wish I knew?
What was okay, so maybe another way of looking at it is, what was the biggest surprise when you got to campus? Think about orientation when you first.
Well, as I mentioned earlier, Harvard and Legacy of Slavery initiative was just right out the gate. And what I really want to say is, and to echo what has been said already about, it goes by very quickly. And of course, in the Master of Religion and Public Life program, it's a 1-year program. So it's very intense and it goes by quickly. But what I wish I had known, the folks that I got to engage in, the students at Harvard Divinity School and throughout the university actually are deeply committed to social change. I look at HDS and a lot of the colleagues that I've had a chance to meet there as like gladiators and, for justice and a world that works for all. And so I wish I had known them beforehand, because it took me coming back here like I am now to kind of strengthen those ties and be engaged in some of the work, the meaningful work that we all are as professionals committed to contributing to. So that's what it would be for me.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah. So similar to that, I think think from my experience, what I would say is maybe doing your research about what are the various resources and opportunities that are available, not just at HDS, but at large at Harvard, because you have access to them as a student at HDS. And I think I started off by saying, I came from a non-traditional ministry background. And so I was in this cohort of 40, 45 students, of which, about a third were going into traditional ministry, and the rest were thinking about going into a PhD program. And then the other third were people like me who were coming from a nonprofit background or some other background and were thinking about enhancing their kind of toolbox and the set of tools that they had to think about the world and to add a different kind of perspective to the work that they either were currently doing or wanted to do. And thinking back, of course, as I was doing my application, I did my research, I put forth my my case in my essay, but I think there's just so much more that that there's to do, and especially in the backgrounds of faculty and staff on campus, especially at HDS, but also faculty in other departments, in the Faculty of Arts and Sciences, or even in other professional schools, doing some kind of background research on what are people's research interests and what are people's professional backgrounds, and in what ways can you make those connections when you're here, so that you're not in some ways pigeonholing yourself into a very narrow route, because you can come in wanting to do a very specific thing, but because of the people that you come in contact with and the faculty that you come in contact with, and learning more about the research, your idea of what you wanted to do might expand in ways that you may not have even imagined. So I would just say, both keep yourself open to those possibilities, but also, kind of do the research of what exists in the Harvard ecosystem on campus.
Fantastic. Excellent. Thank you so much, Abhishek and Kev, Rep Kev. One last question. Is there anything that we haven't asked you yet? Anything that you would like to tell, last words you would like to tell these prospective students?
Yeah. So one thing that I would, Kevin, go for it.
Oh, you got it.
Okay. I was just going to say, so I was also blessed to have the opportunity to live in community at HDS, at the Center for Study of World Religions, which I think still exists. That opportunity is still available. So it is an intentional community, interfaith in nature. The best part is that you're right across from your classes, so you can just roll out of bed and show up. But other than that, I think what was really beautiful about it was, really coming in contact with people who are very different from you, living with them, but then coming together in intentional ways once a week to learn about what folks were working on. So it spanned, folks who were pursuing their PhDs, but also we had scholars who were at HDS for a year, and a few master students like me. So that was quite a special opportunity.
One of the things I would say just to anyone, if you're fortunate enough to be accepted, I would want you to really consider the housing situation in Cambridge. It's not an easy do if you're making an adjustment. So get competitive about housing, start thinking ahead of time about housing. That's one of the challenges you're going to face because it's just one of the most expensive housing markets in the nation. And so that's a consideration, and you want to be thinking about. You also want to think about what is it that you have to bring to Harvard I believe you're accepted to Harvard because there's something that you have to offer Harvard as much as Harvard has to offer you. And I found that to be so true in the rich discussions in the classrooms that in many of my classes, that were it not for certain voices being in those discussions, the dialogue would have been incomplete. And so there's something about your unique experience and something about your who you are that will help to reform what Harvard is. You know, it's taking a new shape because of you. So I would just want you to be thinking about what is it that you have to add to Harvard Divinity School.
Perfect. Perfect. Both of you, Abhishek and Rev Kev, a huge thank you to both of you for joining us and sharing all of your unique insights and just sharing yourselves. I am honored to be able to actually see you here, and I'm sure that a lot of our prospective students, you know, really learned a lot about what HDS is all about. So thank you very much for joining us. Prospective students, thank you for joining too. Keep exploring HDS through the admissions website. You can follow HDS on Facebook, Twitter, or X, formerly known as Twitter, and Instagram. And we are going to be eager to connect with you and answer all of your questions. So it's been a pleasure having you all here. Thank you very much. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Take care.
Bye-bye. Thank you.